I need to stop saying, and I said it about UNC going into the Notre Dame game. I said it about State going into the Notre Dame game. I've said it probably too many times. I got to stop saying this is a, by an inch or a mile, by hook or by crook, by any means necessary, get the win game, because teams are testing my limits. Said about UNC, they needed a 4-point play from not one of their most prolific three-point shooters, plus the free throw, in order to beat Notre Dame. Look at me like, hey, you said by any means necessary. NC State, I said, hey, inch or a mile, it doesn't matter. Just get the win. You needed your big man, Ben Middlebrooks, to hit a free throw and then survive the pinball on the defensive end in order to win. You're looking at me like, hey, you said by any means necessary. It's like when you tell a toddler to stop doing something and they aggressively listen. Don't touch that. So what do? They take their finger and they put it 1 centimeter away. I'm not touching it. That's what it feels like these teams are doing. We need a win. We desperately need a win. You say we absolutely need a win. I'll get the win 1 centimeter away. I got the win. All right, well, how about you obey the spirit of the rule a little bit more than the letter of the law? Stop trying to get out on a loophole. Win it and look like throughout the game you should win it. Because, when you're down 7 with less than 3.5 minutes to go like NC State was last night, that's not the most convincing win. It is a win, though. And Kevin Keatts, their head coach, talked about earning the win after a few tough losses in conference to UVA and Wake.
We got competitors in that locker room, and we didn't like the way we played. We really didn't. And, this is, as we go through this season, we're going to have ups and downs. We completely know that. Not only us, everybody in our league and everybody in the country. It's can you bounce back and get better? And, we looked at the schedule. We knew we had a really good Notre Dame team coming in, especially, when Burden returned. Obviously he had 23 points out his first time back. But we didn't like the way we played, especially on the defensive end, and we wanted to get better.
There's some good there, right? You liked the fight. You like that they were backed up against the wall and they didn't go in the tank. They didn't curl up into their shell like a turtle. They fought back. Dontrez Styles, one of their transfers, new to the team this year, but a local guy, Kinston native, did talk to the media after the game, and he talked about the team's fight.
We dropped a couple games in league play that we feel like we should have won. And tonight we got down early in the first half, but we kept fighting, we kept competing, and we had a halftime talk. We can't go out like this anymore. We got to do something about it. We got to be more physical and be more smarter. That's what we did in the second half.
They're getting there. They're getting to where we've been asking them to go, and that it's the chemistry thing. I talked with Casey Morcell, who was on the team last year, and he talked about how it's not easy. You can't make it in a microwave. Team chemistry, where it's trust. If you're a scorer and you don't get a shot up in the first 4.5 minutes, your internal clock starts going off, and you're like, I got to get one. And it only comes with trust that you don't press, don't force. You go, no, my teammates are going to find me. I'll get my shots. I don't need to have that internal alarm clock. And it only comes with trust. Well, the fact that they could, you just heard Dontrez Styles say it. They could be playing poorly and have a talk at halftime and have it taken the right way and come out on the other side and do what you need to do to get the win. That's a mark of chemistry being developed. Because if you don't have chemistry, I don't care who steps up to talk at halftime. Your internal monologue is like, this guy. Right? Being a transfer and even being a part of the conversation sometimes is tough because you haven't put the time in with that squad. So they're starting to listen to each other. They're starting to react the right way. They're starting to understand what buttons to push, what strings to pull. It's a heck of a time to be starting. It's January 9th. Most teams that are going to be contenders are already there unless you're going to win your conference tournament. Other than that, you got to roll through your conference regular season. The rotation was shortened way down. We talked about it yesterday, that it was surprising to me that State was so far down the list of possessions per game in the country. They didn't get up and down. They don't get quick shots. They use their whole play clock. And I thought it was surprising because they had 9 guys averaging 10 minutes or more. And if you're going to rotate through a bunch of players, your advantage is you can run. You will be less tired. Your guys will be less fatigued. So when you go up against other teams, you run, you tire them out. They weren't really doing that. They were playing a big rotation and still playing slowly. Well, against Notre Dame last night, it was basically Marcus Hill, Michael O'Connell, Dontrez Styles, and Jaden Taylor. They don't come out often. They're playing big minutes. That final spot, Ben Middlebrooks, Brendan Huntley-Hatfield, Breon Pass, all kind of got, between 15 and 20 minutes. That's a significantly shortened and a significantly more structured rotation than we've seen at other points this season for State, which tells me they're getting there. They're getting there. One step at a time. Kevin Keatts is learning which players play well together. The team is learning the chemistry. It's all getting there. It's just really tough to get there slowly and have the patience for it when you are in the middle of your ACC schedule. You are squeaking out wins against Notre Dame, who is not a big bad bully in the ACC. It is a team that you would hope to beat by 10, 12 and not have a extremely stressful ending. But you can't. A watched pot never boils. Is that the saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can't stand there and hover over it. You just got to one step at a time. Ben Middlebrooks is an interesting one for me, though. It's not pretty, like his offensive game. It's a hustle guy. He's a little, it feels like he's playing on like 1.5 speed and everyone else is playing on 1 speed.
All energy here.
But he's scored in double figures in 4 of the last 5.
He has.
And if you go back to the early part of the season, before some of the other transfers maybe felt comfortable, putting a lot of shots up, he was getting double figures quite often early in the season. Maybe depend on him scoring more, right? And I know he missed a couple bunnies, but he also made a 3.
Yeah, he did. Okay.
I don't want to.
Whatever it takes, right?
I don't want to put this on him, but there was a point about this time last year where Mo Diarra started knocking down threes for State, and it did feel like we were sitting here going, you can do that? When did you learn how to do that?
When did this happen?
If Middlebrooks has that in his bag of tricks, it's a good time to break out that trick right now. He's an interesting one for me. I do think you want to experiment with occasionally, not often, but occasionally giving him a chance to, get a post touch 2-3 possessions in a row. He does go to the free throw line a lot, and that's good for State, right? Get the other team in foul trouble. They don't necessarily shoot a great free throw percentage, but if you're going to play slow, if you're going to play methodically like they do, there's no better way to grind the game to a halt than to get to the free throw line a bunch, and he does that. Again, in part because he's moving at 1.5 times speed. He's an interesting one. I feel like I've gone one by one through like the entire roster. I'm going like Jaden Taylor. Let's see if the spark off the bench last year can be a leading scorer. That was the first 4 games. Then it was Marcus Hill. He scored 20 points per game last year for Bowling Green. Let's see if that translates to bigger college basketball. Then it was Dontrez Styles hit a couple threes. Let's see if I'm going one all the way down, and I've gotten to Ben Middlebrooks.
Well, it's interesting. Those 4 guys you just mentioned all made key plays down the stretch late for them. Jaden Taylor playing one-on-one defense against Marcus Burton forced a tough shot there at the end. Middlebrooks got the game-winning free throw and also a couple late buckets. Dontrez Styles hit a 3-pointer that cut the deficit from 7 to 4, gets a block on defense. Before you know it, Breon Pass gets the ball up to Hill. He makes it a 2-point game. Then Hill gets the ball again, ties it at 65. Like all 4 of those guys you mentioned made big plays in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game for State.
And I don't love that in college basketball. I like teams that have a go-to, like a player that they depend on in big moments. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. And then you do have to do like the everybody's equal thing. You never know who's it going to be, who's going to do it. It's a little more stressful, and there's a little more you got to zoom out and watch the all 10. Is that the basketball of the all 22? You got to watch the whole court to see what's going on rather than focusing on one guy. But maybe that's State this year.